I came home to find my ex on my couch with my house key in her hands. After I refused to let her move back to my place, she smirked surprise. I made sure she regretted it. Hey Reddit, I, 31 male, work as an industrial equipment inspector, homeowner for about 3 years now. I bought the place myself with a little help from my parents on the down payment. Single, live alone, keep my circle small and my boundaries smaller. That last part's going to be important. So on a random Tuesday morning, coffee in hand, my phone buzzes, Vesper, my ex. 3 years of radio silence beyond the obligatory holiday text and a stray Instagram like. Now hitting me with, hey, big news. Got a job offer back home and I'm moving back. Need a place to crash while I look for an apartment? Just a couple weeks. You're still at the same place, right? We dated 2.5 years. Broke up when she moved for grad school. Clean split, nobody cheated, just grew apart. Stayed cordial after. Holiday texts. Social media comments twice a year. That level of friendly. Cordial doesn't mean crash at my place whenever you want. Thought that was obvious. Apparently 3 years of barely speaking translates to, we're basically still family in her world. Texted back, congrats on the job. Can't help with housing though. Try an extended stay. She pushed back. We're adults. It's not weird. Just temporary. I kept it simple. Not going to work. Good luck with the move. Then came the classic deflection. Wow, didn't realize you were still hung up on the breakup? It's been 3 years. Because if I won't let her stay, I must be emotionally damaged. Couldn't possibly be that I just don't want an ex living in my house. That would make too much sense. Told her I wasn't hung up, just not interested in having a roommate. Especially an ex. Whatever. Guess I'll figure it out myself. Cool. Problem solved. Boundary established. Or so I thought. Few days later, got home from work around 6 to find my front door cracked open. Deadbolt wasn't engaged. First thought was burglary. Pushed the door open carefully, phone ready to dial 911. Stepped inside slowly, checking corners like something out of a home invasion movie. Heart pounding. Sweat on my palms. I actually grabbed the decorative bat I keep by the door. Never thought I'd actually need it for anything besides looking tough. Then the smell hit me. Smoke. Burning. Something chemical and wrong. My eyes started watering before I even saw the source. For context, and this is going to sound stupid in hindsight, I'd been meaning to change the lock since my sister moved out about a month ago. She still had a spare key from when she was staying with me. Kept putting it off because who actually thinks their sister is going to hand that key to someone else? One of those tasks that sits on your mental to-do list and never actually gets done. Stupid. I know. My kitchen was on fire. Smoke pouring from the oven. Flames licking up the backsplash behind the stove. Cabinets above the range blackened and warped. It's a newer build. 2019 construction. And the HOA requires kitchen suppression systems in the development. Little canister thing above the stove. It had already gone off. White powder everywhere mixed with the smoke. Clearly wasn't designed to handle whatever the hell she'd done in there. Smoke detector screaming so loud my ears were ringing. The countertop was covered in baking supplies. Flour everywhere, mixed with the suppression powder into some kind of paste. Sugar spilled across the wet granite. Mixing bowls. A half-empty carton of eggs sitting out. Looked like someone had started an ambitious project and then just walked away from it while the oven cranked to maximum temperature and went nuclear. And there was Vesper, standing in my living room, mascara running down her face in black streaks, covered in flour and soot and that white powder from the suppression system. 3 massive suitcases lined up against the wall like she was checking into a hotel. Moving boxes stacked in the corner. She'd made herself completely at home while simultaneously burning the place down. I noticed she'd already plugged in her phone charger. Put a throw pillow from somewhere, definitely not mine, on my couch. Set up shop like this was move-in day. She smiled. Actually smiled. Like this was a funny story she'd be telling at parties later. Surprise! I was making you a thank you cake for letting me stay. Something went wrong with the oven. I think the temperature setting was off or something. The dial might be broken. I just stood there for a second. Couldn't process it. Part of me genuinely wanted to believe this was some kind of elaborate joke, that I was misunderstanding the situation, that there was some explanation that made this make sense. There wasn't. There never is with people like this. I didn't let you stay. I explicitly told you no. Multiple times in writing. What the hell are you doing in my house? Your sister let me in. She gave me your spare key. Said this casually, like it explained everything. Like sisters just hand out keys to people's homes all the time, and that's perfectly normal behavior. She said you were just being stubborn, and you'd get over it once I was actually here. Isn't she the best? I wanted to do something nice to show my appreciation for being so understanding about the whole thing. Appreciation for something I never agreed to. Understanding that I explicitly refused to provide. While my kitchen smoldered behind her like physical evidence of her entitlement. Winslow, my sister, who had been living with me rent-free for 8 months while she found herself before finally moving out about a month ago, who still had that spare key I kept meaning to ask for back, who had contributed exactly $0 to utilities, groceries, or any household expense the entire time she stayed here despite having a full-time job. Finding herself apparently meant finding my couch and my Wi-Fi password and absolutely nothing resembling basic respect for other people's property or decisions. She gave you a key to my house? After I told you no? Yeah. She said you don't really mean no when you say no. You just need time to warm up to ideas. I thought the cake would help speed that up. Chocolate raspberry, your favorite from back when we were together. You remember, right? I remembered the cake. I also remembered saying no. Clearly. Multiple times. In actual words that have actual meanings in the English language. Something clicked. Not anger. Strategy. I wasn't going to win this conversation, but I could win the paperwork. I didn't argue, didn't yell, just pulled out my phone and hit record. Panned slowly, her face, the keys still in her hand, the 3 suitcases, the moving boxes, the smoke damage behind her, the burnt cabinets, all of it. Evidence. She expected a debate, an argument, maybe some yelling she could cry her way out of later. I was building a timeline. She kept talking, not realizing what was happening. I really thought you'd appreciate the gesture. The cake was going to be... Say that again. The part about my sister giving you the key. Yeah, Winslow gave me the spare. She said you'd come around once I was actually here and... She noticed the phone. Her smile flickered. Wait, are you recording this? Surprise, you just confessed on video. Her face went white. The smirk died. For the first time since I walked in, she looked genuinely scared. Good. Then I noticed the flames spreading to the upper cabinet and saw the ceiling starting to discolor from the heat, paint bubbling. This wasn't a conversation anymore. This was documentation. Grabbed my phone and dialed 911. Wait, what are you doing? Vesper's face shifted from apologetic to panicked in about half a second. The tears stopped like someone flipped a switch. You don't need to call anyone. It's just a small fire. I'll pay for the damage. We can figure this out ourselves, like adults, like mature people who don't need to involve authorities. You broke into my house and set it on fire. We're way past figuring anything out ourselves. Fire department took about 12 minutes. Felt like an hour. I was standing in my driveway watching smoke pour out of my kitchen window, while Vesper tried 3 different times to convince me to call them off, to handle this privately, to be reasonable, to think about what I was doing. Neighbors started gathering on the sidewalk. One of them offered to let me use their garden hose. I just shook my head. Another one was recording on her phone. Great. 2 trucks showed up. Full response. Firefighters went in, contained what was left, hosed everything down even though it was mostly out by then. Water damage on top of fire damage on top of suppression system damage. One of them came out eventually and looked at me with that tired expression people get when they've seen this kind of domestic situation before. Kitchen's pretty much gone. Can't give you a number. That's for your insurance adjuster. You're gonna need a police report for any claims though. That was it. Just, it's bad. Get documentation. Good luck. Police showed up maybe 20 minutes after the fire trucks. 2 officers. The whole process took forever. Lots of standing around. Lots of waiting. They took statements from both of us separately. Vesper was in the living room talking to one officer while I was in the driveway, explaining the text messages to the other one. He scrolled through them on my phone, nodding occasionally, face completely neutral. Didn't react when he read the part where I said no 3 separate times. Just kept scrolling, making notes. At one point he showed the screen to his partner and pointed at something. They exchanged a look that cops probably learn at the academy. This one's going to be fun to write up look. She tried everything. The tears, the confusion, it was just an accident routine. Told them she was trying to do something nice for an old friend. That her friend, my sister, gave her the key. That she had permission to be there. That she didn't mean for any of this to happen. That she'd pay for everything and make it right. The officer with me handed my phone back after scrolling through the conversation. So you told her no? Multiple times. Pretty clearly. Yeah, explicitly. I also have video. Showed him the recording. Her admitting the key. The evidence sweep. The whole thing. He watched it once. Then again. Showed it to his partner. They exchanged that look. The one that says this case just got a lot simpler. And she showed up anyway. With luggage, 3 suitcases, moving boxes, and then started a fire. He wrote something down on his notepad. Didn't say much else. You want to press charges? Yes, whatever applies. We'll write it up. Detectives might follow up depending on how they classify everything. They told Vesper she was being detained. Her face went white. You can't be serious. It was an accident. I was trying to bake a cake. Nobody goes to jail over a cake. Ma'am, you're also being formally trespassed from this property. The officer said. If you return for any reason, it's an automatic arrest. I didn't say anything. Didn't need to. The system was doing the talking now. They put her in the back of the squad car while the neighbors watched. Some of them definitely had their phones out. This was going to be neighborhood gossip for months. Her 3 massive suitcases sat on my water-damaged floor like props from a play that had gone catastrophically wrong. Tried calling Winslow. Voicemail. Called again. Voicemail. Texted. Call me now. She called back about 20 minutes later sounding annoyed, like I was interrupting her evening. What's the emergency? Vesper just got arrested. My kitchen is destroyed. She had your key. Long pause. Then she laughed. Actually laughed. You're being so dramatic. It was just a little kitchen fire. Insurance covers that kind of stuff. That's literally what insurance is for. You gave a key to someone who broke into my house and started a fire. After I explicitly said no, we're done. What do you mean done? You can't be done with family. I mean, I'm talking to a lawyer tomorrow morning. You gave her access. You're part of this now. She hung up on me. That night I slept at a hotel because my house smelled like wet smoke and chemical suppressant and burnt wood. Cost me $120 a night, and the only available room was next to the ice machine and the elevator. Before I checked in, I stopped at a hardware store. Changed the locks myself at 11 p.m. with a flashlight and a YouTube tutorial. Inventoried every spare key I'd ever given out. There were 4. Emailed myself every screenshot and backed them up to cloud store it. The video of her confession, the text messages, everything time-stamped and documented. By midnight, I had a case file. The insurance company's after-hours emergency line put me on hold for 45 minutes before a tired-sounding person told me an adjuster would contact me within 5 to 7 business days. So incredibly helpful. Some people learn boundaries through conversation. Vesper was about to learn them the hard way, assuming the system ever got around to processing any of it. Winslow finally responded the next morning with the most entitled text I've ever received in my 31 years of life. I can't believe you actually had her arrested. She's been texting me from jail crying all night. She had to call her parents to post bail? You know she doesn't have that kind of money. This is on you now. You ruined her life over a cake. A cake, Thayer. Over a cake. Think about what you're doing. Read it twice to make sure I understood correctly. She was genuinely blaming me. For the fire. For pressing charges. For not being a doormat about having my kitchen destroyed by someone I told not to come. She broke into my house and set it on fire. That's not cake. That's criminal destruction of property. That's arson adjacent at minimum. It was an accident. She was trying to do something nice for you. Why are you always so hostile? Why do you always have to make everything into a huge dramatic production? I'm talking to a lawyer today. You're named in the police report as the person who gave her unauthorized access to my property. Mom wants to talk to you. Of course she did. 31 years old and Winslow still runs to mommy whenever the mean brother won't cooperate with whatever scheme she's cooked up. Some family dynamics are just baked into the DNA at this point. Mom called within minutes. Laid into me about having Vesper arrested, like some kind of criminal. She literally committed crimes. Multiple actual crimes. But sure, let's pretend that's all irrelevant, because she was just trying to be nice. Mom's argument was straightforward. That girl was part of this family for years. Every holiday, every birthday, every family barbecue and graduation party, and random Sunday dinner. I have a guest room sitting empty. It would cost me nothing to let her stay for a few weeks while she found a place. The fire was clearly an accident. Nobody intended for anything bad to happen. She was always so sweet to your grandmother. Remember how she used to bring her flowers? How she helped plan that surprise party for Dad's 50th? That's the girl you're treating like a criminal. Someone who loved this family. She broke into my house. Her history with Grandma doesn't change the police report. I told her my kitchen was destroyed. That I was living in a hotel with no clear timeline for when I could go home. That Vesper had broken in after being explicitly told no multiple times in writing. That accident doesn't mean no consequences. She called me vindictive. Said she raised me better than this. Raised me to help people when they needed it. Raised me to forgive people who made mistakes. You raised me to let people walk all over me. To say yes when I meant no. To prioritize everyone else's comfort over my own basic boundaries. I'm glad I finally grew out of it. She demanded I drop the charges and apologized to Vesper for overreacting to an honest mistake. No, on both counts. Winslow's not welcome at my house anymore either. She gave away access to my home without permission. Dead silence on the line. Then, you can't ban your own sister from your house. Watch me. Mom started yelling about family loyalty and blood being thicker than water, and how I was tearing the family apart over nothing. How I was going to be alone forever with this attitude. Same script she'd used on Dad for 30 years whenever he tried to have an opinion she didn't approve of. I'd watched him cave to that pressure every single time. Then Dad got on the phone. The peacemaker. The guy who'd never held an opinion that survived contact with my mother's disapproval. He ran through the greatest hits. She didn't mean it. Think about what you're doing. Would it kill you to be flexible? That's why you're alone. Same guilt playlist, different vocalist. I'd rather be alone than be a doormat, Dad. Long silence. Mom whispering in the background. Same dynamic as always. Your mother's very upset. Can't you just drop this? For the family? No. He hung up. And I sat in that hotel room, realizing something important. I wasn't dealing with Vesper anymore. I was dealing with an entire system of people who'd spent decades training each other to fold under pressure. The only way to win was to stop playing their game entirely. So I stopped arguing. Started filing. Day 3. Got a lawyer. Guy named Reeves. Older, mid-50s, practical and direct. Billed by the hour and didn't waste time on sympathy or hand-holding. First meeting, he laid everything out. Criminal case is separate from civil. DA decides prosecution. Insurance is the primary recovery path. Document everything. Every receipt. Every hotel bill. Every meal I couldn't cook at home. Not the Avengers assembling. More like triage at an overcrowded hospital. But I wasn't looking for heroes. I was looking for someone who understood paperwork as a weapon. Day 6. Code enforcement notice on my door. Bright yellow paper about illegal rental activity. Anonymous complaint. Had to take time off work for an inspection that got rescheduled twice. When the inspector finally showed up, he walked through my obviously under construction house with a bored expression. Contractor's tools everywhere. Plastic sheeting. Smoke damage. Zero signs of rental activity. This is clearly nothing. Marking it unfounded. He made notes. Filing false complaints is a misdemeanor in this state. We document everything. Added it to the growing file. Day 9. My boss pulled me into his office. Got a weird call yesterday. Someone verifying your employment for a housing dispute. Female voice. Kept asking about salary information, employment dates. I told him I can't discuss employee information. That confirmed she was still playing games. Even with criminal charges pending. Still trying to build some kind of leverage. Forwarded that to Reeves. He said this kind of thing actually helps. Shows a pattern of harassment. Silver lining to her being too stupid to quit while she was behind. Day 11. Insurance adjuster finally showed up. Walked through with a clipboard and camera, occasionally sighing at the destruction. Kitchens totaled. Smoke damage. Water damage. Full report in 2 to 3 weeks. By then, I wasn't just dealing with a fire anymore. I was dealing with someone actively trying to manufacture a version of reality where she belonged in my house. So I stopped living like a guy with bad luck and started moving like a guy building a case. Reeves drafted cease and desist letters for Vesper and Winslow. Told me to lock down all my financial accounts because desperate people try weird stuff when they're cornered. Calling banks, redirecting mail, creating paper trails for claims. Called my bank that afternoon. Fraud alerts. Changed passwords. Multiple verifications on everything. Paranoid? Maybe. But I wasn't going to find out the hard way what she'd try next. Day 23. Insurance report came back. $34,000. Kitchen demo, cabinet replacement, countertops, appliances, smoke remediation, water damage repair, suppression system reset. The itemized list was 3 pages long. Each line felt like a middle finger from the universe. Contractor estimates came in around the same time. 3 different bids. Ranged from $28,000 to $41,000, depending on how much they thought they could upsell me on upgrades. One guy actually tried to convince me to add a wine fridge. My house just burned down, bro. Not really in wine fridge mode. Meanwhile, I was still living in that hotel. The one near the elevator and the ice machine. Every night at 2 a.m., someone decided they absolutely needed ice. Every morning at 6 a.m., housekeeping knocked even though I'd put the "Do Not Disturb" sign out. Every bill added to my documentation stack. Week 3.5. TRO got approved. Reeves filed it. Judge signed it. Vesper got served. The process server told me later she cried when she read it. Probably the first time paperwork made her face actual consequences, instead of just being something she could charm her way around. About 5 weeks after the fire, my doorbell camera pinged while I was at the hotel having breakfast. I'd installed the camera the week after everything happened. Should have had one already, but hindsight is perfect vision. Added to the list of things I should have done sooner, but didn't. Multiple people at my front door. Pulled up the feed on my phone. My parents. Winslow. And somehow, impossibly, Vesper. Out on bail and apparently undeterred by the temporary restraining order my lawyer had filed for and gotten approved about 10 days earlier. All 4 of them on my porch. 1 car in my driveway. They'd carpooled, coordinated, showed up together like some kind of family intervention. Here's the thing I pieced together later. They probably didn't know about the TRO, or at least they'd convinced themselves it didn't apply to just talking or trying to apologize. Mom apparently decided that if everyone came together and had a family conversation, the whole situation would blow over. That I'd see reason. That I'd drop everything if enough people pressured me at once. Classic family logic. If one person telling you to be reasonable doesn't work, try 4 people at the same time. Mom had even printed out a letter. I could see it in her hand through the camera feed. Actually typed something up, printed it, brought it along. But probably a bullet-pointed list of reasons why I should forgive everyone and move on with my life. Very her. I called my lawyer instead of the cops. Vesper's at my house, right now, with my entire family standing around her. The TRO was served last week. You're kidding me. Even Reeves sounded surprised. Don't engage. Don't go there. Don't respond to anything. Just let them incriminate themselves. I'm calling this in. Perfect. Every instinct in my body wanted to drive over there and tell them exactly what I thought of their ambush. But that's what they wanted. A scene. Something they could spin. Instead, I stayed in my hotel room and let the camera collect evidence while they performed for an audience that wasn't there. Watched the whole thing unfold through the feed. Mom knocking on the door aggressively, then pounding with her fist. Thayer, I know you can see this. We need to talk like a family. Open this door. Dad standing in the back with his hands in his pockets, looking like he desperately wanted to be anywhere else but wasn't willing to skip out on whatever Mom had organized. Winslow on her phone, probably live texting updates to someone about what a jerk I was being. Vesper doing the crying thing, talking directly to the camera like I could hear her through it. She actually tried waving at the camera at one point. Blew a kiss. Did that prayer hands gesture like she was pleading? Full performance. If I wasn't so angry, it would have been almost impressive how quickly she could switch between emotional states. Thayer, please. I know you're watching. I'm so sorry for everything that happened. Can we please just talk about this? I'll pay for all the damage. I'll do whatever you want. Just please drop the charges. Please. This is ruining my entire life. Violating a restraining order. On camera. With a timestamp. While my entire family stood there and watched and did nothing to stop her. Police showed up about 15 minutes later. 2 cars. 4 officers. Vesper saw them pull up and tried to create distance. Not exactly running, but definitely moving away from the property quickly, like that would somehow help her situation. It didn't. One of the officers intercepted her on the sidewalk. She started crying again immediately. The switch was that fast. They arrested her. Second time in just over a month. This time for violating a protective order. The bail situation got complicated because she already had pending charges. Her parents had to put up more money. Her lawyer, the public defender, apparently told her to stop doing things, which she was constitutionally incapable of hearing. Mom started arguing with the officers. Not screaming, but that aggressive, there must be some misunderstanding energy that makes cops' eyes glaze over. Kept trying to explain that they were just there to talk. That Vesper was only trying to apologize. That surely just standing on a porch didn't count as a real violation of anything. The officers were not interested in debating legal interpretations with her. One of them was taking notes. Probably documenting witness interference or something equally annoying for her later. Dad just stood there the whole time. Didn't say anything. Didn't defend me. Didn't try to stop Mom. Just existed in the background like furniture, waiting for the situation to resolve itself. 30 years of marriage, and he'd perfected the art of being present without participating. Winslow told the cops I was harassing everyone with legal nonsense, and that this was all my fault for being completely unreasonable about everything. They took notes on that too. Reeves later said her statement might actually help us if we needed to establish coordinated harassment. Sometimes people build your case for you. After Vesper was secured in the back of the patrol car, Dad finally called me. Thayer, this whole thing has gone way too far. She violated a restraining order. You were all there. You all watched it happen. She just wanted to apologize. We thought if we all came together as a family, if we all showed up to support a conversation. You brought someone to my property who has a court order saying she can't be there. That's not an apology. That's a crime. We didn't know about any court order. Maybe true. Maybe not. Didn't really matter at that point. You could end all this, you know? Drop everything. Let everyone move on with their lives. No. Your mother is beside herself over this. She just wants the family back together. Then maybe she shouldn't have organized an ambush. He hung up. Sunday morning, my phone exploded. Extended family, aunts, uncles, cousins I hadn't talked to in years. Winslow had posted some dramatic sob story about her cruel brother tearing the family apart. Crying selfie included. Comments full of people calling me heartless without knowing a single fact. The family greatest hits album continued. Cold-hearted monster. Destroying the family over nothing. 3-paragraph essays about forgiveness from people I'd spoken to maybe twice. Everyone had opinions. Nobody asked what actually happened. They just wanted to perform outrage for the algorithm. Could have responded, could have posted my side, could have engaged with the circus. Instead, I screenshotted everything and forwarded it all to Reeves. Every accusation became evidence. Every public post became leverage. They thought they were burying me. They were building my case. Reeves warned me early on that the system runs on real time, not TV time. He was right, which is the most annoying kind of right. But here's what I learned. Delay isn't defeat. Every week that passed, my documentation got thicker. Every continuance gave insurance more time to finalize numbers. Every postponement let me collect more evidence of her harassment pattern. The court was slow. I was patient. And patience, when you're holding better cards, is just strategy that doesn't look like strategy. Month 2. Preliminary hearing finally happened. Judge flipped through the packet like he was skimming a menu. Asked the prosecutor 2 questions. Barely looked up. Bound over for trial. Bail stays. Next case. That was it. No speeches. No moral lesson. Just conveyor belt justice. Vesper didn't even look at me on the way out. The restraining order violation moved faster because it was cleaner. She got served. She showed up anyway. The cops documented it. My doorbell camera did the rest. Courts love clean. Reeves laid out the endgame over coffee. Let the criminal case establish facts. Keep insurance moving. Document every expense. Don't get distracted chasing side issues. Focus on Vesper. Keep Winslow in the blast radius through paper trails. Let consequences stack where they naturally land. Not the scorched earth fantasy I would have enjoyed early on. But Reeves wasn't wrong. Winning isn't a vibe. It's a process. And I was running the process now. Month 4. Vesper took a plea deal. Criminal trespass and property destruction. The arson angle got messy because prosecutors didn't want to fight about intent when they had charges they could nail down cleanly. They kept the restraining order violation intact because she gift-wrapped that one on camera. She got 18 months probation, 200 hours of community service, and restitution. The $34,000 my insurance paid out, plus my deductible. Here's the part that actually felt like victory. Subrogation. This was always the play. I didn't chase her for money. I handed her to people who chase money professionally. Once insurance pays you, they don't just absorb the loss. They go after whoever caused it. That meant Vesper wasn't dealing with me anymore. She was dealing with a company whose entire personality is pay us. No guilt, no fatigue, no please understand. Just letters, deadlines, and consequences that show up like clockwork. I didn't have to argue, didn't have to negotiate, just kept forwarding documents and let the machine do what machines do best, grind. Her parents ended up paying most of it because she was broke. From what I heard through the grapevine, it wasn't cash from savings. It was selling something and moving money around, and please don't ask questions. Her dad had to liquidate some investments. Her mom cried about it on Facebook in vague posts about family hardship that got sympathy comments from people who had no idea their precious daughter broke into someone's house and started a fire. The insurance company's collection department sent letters for months. Vesper's credit got wrecked. She tried to dispute it as unfair and learned that insurance companies employ people whose entire job is to prove why it's very fair actual. They have documentation. They have lawyers. They have infinite patience. I almost felt bad for her. Almost. Civil side settled shortly after the criminal case wrapped. Same money, just formalized and enforceable. Permanent restraining order included. Next violation meant real jail time, not probation. She was one bad decision away from orange jumpsuits and cafeteria food. Winslow's mess got handled separately. Reeves sent a formal demand letter over the social media posts. Defamation. Not a guaranteed courtroom win, but enough leverage to make her life annoying. Discovery would mean she'd have to hand over messages, posts, everything. People who live online really hate when the legal system gets to look at their online. Winslow did what people like her always do. She tried to ignore it until it became inconvenient. She left it on red for a few days. Then she posted something vague about being threatened and toxic family. Then Reeves sent a follow-up that made it clear we weren't doing interpretive dance. We were doing documents. She folded in about a week. She posted the retraction with wording Reeves provided, pinned for 30 days, and paid $750 toward my legal fees. No sorry you felt that way? Nonsense. No miscommunication. Just a blunt admission that she lied and dragged me online. Watching someone who lives off attention suddenly realize attention has rules was honestly one of the better moments of the whole ordeal. Mom never apologized. Not once. In her version, I ruined the family by enforcing basic property rights like some kind of villain. Dad sent one text 3 months later. Hope you're doing okay? I didn't respond. Standing there while your wife runs interference for a trespassing ex and then acting like you did your part doesn't get you a gold star. It gets you silenced. 8 months later, the kitchen was rebuilt. Better than before because if contractors already have your walls open, you might as well upgrade instead of rebuilding the same disappointment. Insurance covered the restoration, and the subrogation recovery handled my deductible. I didn't win, but I got my house back. Vesper is apparently working somewhere and living with roommates now, because she can't afford her own place after everything. According to mutual acquaintances, she complains constantly that nobody respects her things. Food disappears. Messes appear. Someone moved in a boyfriend without asking, and he camps on their couch using her Netflix like it's his birthright. She posted something on social media about boundaries and respecting shared spaces that got roasted in the comments by people who remembered the court case. The irony isn't subtle, but it's efficient. I also heard she tried something similar before me. Different city, different ex, showed up with luggage and refused to leave until she got paid to go away. Same playbook, just a softer opponent. The guy apparently gave her $2,000 just to make her leave. She treated it like a payday. I was the first guy who treated it like what it was. A legal problem, not a relationship issue. Turns out when you stop negotiating with people who treat your boundaries like suggestions, they run out of moves pretty fast. Winslow moved in with some boyfriend named Jet. Family Grapevine says it's toxic because he has rules and isn't flexible. Translation, he expects adult behavior and she hates it. The retraction post is still searchable if you know where to look. Screenshots do not care about personal growth. Someone sent me a screenshot of her complaining about controlling men a few weeks ago. I didn't respond. Just saved it to the folder. Old habits. Dad texts occasionally. Sports scores. Weather. Small talk. Like nothing happened. Like I didn't watch him stand there and let my porch turn into a stage for other people's bad decisions. Mom and I don't talk. Might stay that way. Best part, the house feels like mine again. Cameras on every entrance. Security upgraded. New locks with smart features. I get a notification every time someone even approaches the door. Copies of the restraining order in places I can grab fast. Reeves's number is favorited, not because I expect trouble, but because I'm not learning the same lesson twice. The kitchen looks better than it did before the fire. Quartz countertops instead of granite. Better cabinets. Upgraded appliances. If someone's going to destroy your stuff, might as well use the insurance money to build something they helped you pay for. Every time I make coffee in that kitchen, I think about how it was funded by Vesper's parents selling whatever they had to sell. And the Wi-Fi password? Winslow still doesn't have it. She never will. Guys, we are so close to hit 100,000 subscribers on this channel. If you are not subscribed to the channel, please consider subscribing. It really helps hit that 100,000 mark. Thanks for making this dream come true.